right, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. We're reviewing the Dark Side of the Ring series. We're going to go over the career of the one and only Dynamite Kid. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's jump right into it,
All right.
man. What'd you think of this one?
No,
I gotta say at least a lot better than last week.
yeah. It's still kind of dark, no pun intended. Not a very happy ending either, but
Oh,
interesting. I knew a lot about Dynamite Kid though, so there wasn't really anything that I was surprised about. I didn't really learn anything new.
no. I mean, other than just learning who his family was and whatnot. I mean, pretty much everything else was
Right,
self-explanatory.
yeah.
Anybody that grew up watching wrestling knew that they all came from Stampede Wrestling. He always had this chip on his shoulder about his height, about how he would never be one of the big boys, so he had to
Mhm.
prove himself in other ways. So he put his body on the line a lot of the times. So yeah, it was just sad on how it all took place, and I can't really blame Vince McMahon for adding to it when they lost the tag titles with the injury. Um, he went to he went in a totally different direction after that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, they started the episode off. They with Tommy Billington. They interviewed his wife Michelle. They were married for 9 years. When she married when she was 18 years old. They interviewed two of their daughters. Maris was the youngest, and Brownman was that's like a little hard to pronounce
I don't
that.
remember. I don't remember the other daughter's
A
name.
little exotic with the names. I'll give them
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But Brownman was the oldest daughter, and she was the one that later on reconciled with her old man. We'll get into that in a second. They started off the episode talking about how when he was in Japan, his best match that he had, and I agree because I remember I had seen this as a kid on Don't Ask Me Where against Tiger Mask in Japan.
Hmm.
That pretty much made him, and
Yeah, definitely.
from there they went on to he went on to Calgary
Hmm.
Stampede, and I think it's really funny how literally now the Hart family was just totally connected. Of course, he marries the what
This
was it the
Brett's wife's
sister?
sister. It was Brett's
Yeah,
wife's sister.
yeah,
That I
exactly.
didn't know. I didn't know that.
No, that was the only thing out of
Yeah,
this episode I had no clue about that was her sister.
yeah.
So for people that are going to comment later, about being wrestling historians,
Mm.
sorry. Um, yeah, I thought that was really weird, and that's I'm like, wow, now they're really literally close knit on this family
Yeah.
here. So yeah, they showed a lot of the old footage of Stampede wrestling, him wrestling against Brett, the Anvil, wrestling the British Bulldog, and I mean, this guy was a powerhouse. I always liked his physique. I always thought it fit. Obviously, Vince McMahon was the guy with the big boys, but I think Dynamite Kid could have tested anybody in that ring. A little bit more aggressive than he should have been with his body, but I mean, he had it. He had the package, and
Yeah, he just he came along at the wrong time. If he was trying to get to the top of the business, that was the wrong. He was like a decade or two early.
yeah, I would say about a decade because mid '90s for him
Yeah.
would have fit the bill in WWE.
Yeah, because he was still even smaller than Brett and Sean.
Yeah,
So
but he could wrestle with them,
no, yeah,
and
yeah, definitely. But just
the
the way the business was at that point, it was
the
it was
one
all
move I
about.
really loved that he did, and I used to love it as a kid, was that snap suplex.
Oh
How
yeah, it was.
fast he could pull
Yeah,
that off.
yeah, yeah,
That was, to me, that was amazing, and he could do that with a guy like he did it to like the Big Boss Man when he first came in. They had a match on Superstars. I remember he could do it to anybody, any size, because he had the build.
yeah,
He just
yeah.
unfortunately didn't have the height.
Brett credits him for teaching him a lot
Hmm.
in the ring, and Brett to this day says that Dynamite Kid is the best wrestler of all time, even better than himself.
Yeah, I agree.
So
He's definitely up there.
he's up there for sure.
So, following Calgary Stampede, he follows everybody else. In 1984, he signed with the WWE.
Hmm.
It was a quick stardom run for him because shortly after, not even 2 years there, WrestleMania 2, they won the tag titles. We had
Right.
discussed that in previous episodes.
Hmm.
After they got to that episode is when they started interviewing Dan Spivey, and this I was laughing at this when as far as you see the part with the needles they were talking about.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like, well, I mean, besides, I thought Dan Spivey was dead, man. I mean, I shouldn't say that, God forgive me, but I thought he was dead for some reason because I haven't seen him. No, I haven't
Come
seen him
on,
anywhere.
come on, Waylon Mercy.
Yeah, no, I really thought he was dead, and then I was like, oh
Well,
shit.
he's one of those guys that just
He,
when it was over, he stepped away and wasn't in the limelight anymore.
yeah, he went off on his own. So it was cool when I saw Spivey. I'm like, oh,
He looked good.
he looks in good shape. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, that was a good person to. I didn't know they were close at all. I didn't know any of that.
No, no.
You know.
Having him and Foley doing
Mhm.
being interviewed in this was kind of cool. I do remember that Foley did have that one match in WWE when he was just starting out,
That story I
and
know.
it was like this little cruiserweight twig looking nothing, and that story. I'll get into it right now because it's going to come up here in a minute. How he busted his jaw
Yeah.
during that match accidentally. He got the clothesline, but he got the bulk of the bicep in the ring, and it just what did he say? What was it like for a week or something? He
I
couldn't
think
eat
he
at
said like
all.
three. No, he said he couldn't eat solid food for 3 weeks. He said
Yeah.
that's
So I mean, that's how just overly aggressive
yeah.
and stuff that Dynamite Kid was. Like I said, the chip on his shoulder to kind of prove that I may be this hype, but I can be here type thing.
The getting back to the Spivey thing for a second, that was kind of
Yeah.
crazy though. With they were injecting each other with
Yeah.
steroids, and then I don't know if they were injecting each other, but they were using the steroid syringes as like darts.
Yeah. They
They
wake
were
up
like,
in the morning and see about 10 of them
and
on
then
the
they would just leave
wall.
them in the wall.
Yeah, I mean, they even showed one later on where he's walking around the locker room. He's got it
Yeah,
off his butt cheek.
supposedly he said that. Yeah, he walked in the locker room and I
That was,
forgot
what was it? That was Jacques
Rougeau.
Rougeau that
It
said,
was
yeah.
Jacques. It was Jacques.
Oh, we'll get into him in a minute.
Yeah.
That whole thing and the reason why Dynamite Kid left, which I want to believe, but I just
I know the whole
it
story.
sounds too much of a farce.
Yeah, when we get up to it, I'll because I
Yeah,
know they didn't do a good job explaining that whole story.
no,
They
they kind of tried to
summarized it.
go around it.
Yeah, they summarized it.
Because when you mentioned, you notice when they asked Jacques about it, he started laughing. And
Hmm.
then he paused for a minute because he's trying to figure out how to say this without telling you all the whole truth. In any event, um, when because the Dynamite Kid had done everything aggressively in the ring during a match he had messed up a couple of his discs, and Vince did not want to vacate the titles. And
Right. This wasn't WCW.
yeah, exactly. Where oh, it's cloudy out. Let's vacate the titles. And well, Vince has done this once before, and I'll make the reference here in a second.
Well, unless you're Shawn
Um,
Michaels, then you can just
it's funny because I was just the reference I was going to make had Shawn Michaels in it. But don't go there.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, it was messed up. They took him out of the wheelchair. The guy's writhing in pain. They bring him into the match, but they hit him with the megaphone, Jimmy Hart's megaphone, so that the storyline pretty much is like he's hurt and can't get in the ring, and the Hart Foundation beat Davey Boy Smith to win the tag belts. The reference I was going to make was they did that also at SummerSlam 1990. If you remember, Shawn Michaels wasn't
Yes.
medically cleared.
Right.
They didn't want to. They didn't want to cancel the match. So what they did was they had Shawn jump, and you could tell Shawn was hurt because of the way he wasn't really running in the ring. They had him jumped prior to the match, and Jannetty went on to have pretty much a handicap match. They saved the match for the pay per view, but used the storyline. Something similar here,
Mhm.
but this was a little bit more extreme because the man literally had to be carried back into the wheelchair once the match was over.
Yeah.
And I gotta wonder, would their tag team title run have had ended that quickly if he didn't have the injury? Because
I
I
don't
knew he
know.
was hurt when they lost the tag
Yeah,
titles. I
'cause
just didn't know the severity of it.
and they got hurt towards the end of '86, which is kind of sad because they didn't really get a long run at all
Mm-mm.
as far as being
WrestleMania till the end of '86.
healthy because they come back in '87, but
Yeah, he came back really quick because they had
he
wrestled at
wasn't
WrestleMania 3 against the
right.
Hearts in a 6-man tag
Hmm.
match. But when he came back, his disposition had changed. Everything changed mainly because he was still in pain.
Hmm.
And I mean, that would never fly in today's WWE because today's WWE, if you get a hangnail, you're out 6 months. It's literally
Yeah,
WCW.
yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, for the certain type of
They,
surgery
they
that he
they
had,
would not medically clear him.
no, no way, no
I'm
way.
surprised they did back then, but it's a different
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
In any event, um, right around this time as well as when we talk about his aggressive behavior. Remember they talked about he took his wife out to a bar, and she really didn't want to drink, so she made it look like she was. She put some tonic in the glass and with a lemon, make it look like she's having something. He goes and grabs a drink of it, and they show that he spits it out, and he gets all aggravated and stuff. And this escalates when they go home, and I mean, he started really tormenting her, hitting her, and it's just like he was getting out of control at this point. And at the same time, he also, she's while this happens, she's pregnant with their son. This is the third child, and so I thought that was a little ridiculous. They didn't stay on that too much with the house abuse because then, if you noticed, right when they did that, they cut immediately to the next story, which was about the Rougeos.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can get it. I get it. Back in the day, a new guy gets into the locker room. He Rougeau liked to have fun. He liked to play cards. He was a big mouth, tell jokes. Some of the guys didn't appreciate it. You catch Dynamite Kid wrong day, wrong time, and he pops him. The only thing I didn't like it was a cheap shot from behind when he got him, and he beat him.
No, but they didn't even tell the whole story. The whole no,
I know. This was their version of it. Yeah.
The full story is that these guys were notorious for playing ribs on people, which they kind of touched on. The Davy Boy and Dynamite were notorious for playing ribs on people, right? Which was some of the ribs were kind of like malicious. They weren't even funny.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening was Kurt Hennig used to like to stir the pot and play ribs himself, and so somebody cut up Raymond Rougeau's Jacques. Somebody cut up Jacques' stuff, his gear, and he didn't realize it until he got back to until he got back to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And he had told Kurt Hennig, "Hey, listen, watch my bag or whatever. I don't want anybody touching my stuff. I don't trust the Bulldogs." So Kurt Hennig kind of like gave him a look as if like to insinuate that it was the Bulldogs or that it was Dynamite. So I guess they were gonna rib them back or something, but they didn't do anything. But then Kurt Hennig goes back and tells Dynamite, "Oh, the Rougeaus they're gonna stooge on you. They're gonna rat to the office because he's pissed off that he thinks that you cut up his stuff." So because of that, he comes from behind and he slaps him because he felt like he was gonna rat him out to the office, which he was.
The locker room incident, yeah.
Right, that was the locker room. So he smacks Jacques, right? Raymond is there, and Raymond kind of breaks it up, and Dynamite supposedly hit Raymond in the neck, and Raymond kind of looked at him like, and then he was trying to goad him. Dynamite was trying to goad him into a fight. Now, if you don't know this, I don't know how many people noticed that Raymond was actually like a legitimate boxer. Like he fought in the Golden Gloves and everything. Mm-hmm. His father trained him, so he was like a legit badass, even though he was kind of a quiet guy. So he said, "What, are you gonna fight me like this, like with an injured knee?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll wait till you heal, then we'll do it." And he said, "Okay, fine." So he ends up. What comes out of that whole thing was Jacques is embarrassed because he got beat up like that. He got sucker punched and he got beat up. So Raymond told him, he said, "Look, there has to be payback. There's gonna be a receipt for this." He said, "Either I'm gonna do it when I heal, or you're gonna have to do it." So he basically trained his brother for like a few days how to box and how to throw all his weight into the punch. And when they caught him at a TV taping, but they left out Raymond out of this whole. All they mentioned was Jacques.
Yes,
they
left only Jacques.
They left Raymond out completely. Jacques was watching his back, and that happened. It was 1-on-1, but this guy didn't actually get knocked out. He fell to his knees, and he hit him. I guess Raymond hit him. Raymond was screaming at Jacques, hit him again, because he was about to like fight back. So
was that the incident they were talking about with the alleged brass knuckles or the quarters?
It was the quarters. The story's been consistent with the Rougeaus that it was quarters.
Because they mentioned that they thought it also could have been brass knuckles, but I always heard was quarters.
I always heard the quarters, and that's pretty consistent. Whenever I hear the story, it was quarters. So then he hit him.
Knocked his teeth out.
He knocked his teeth out. They broke it up. They have a meeting in the office. Vince tells them, this is not going to continue. you guys got to squash this. It's done. It's over with. And I think then they mentioned that he just ends up leaving the company. That kind of changed his mentality, and he won't. But I think it was a combination of the injuries plus what happened.
Well, if you ever notice, if you ever go back and watch SummerSlam '88 now, I always noticed this when I watched it, even for the first time. If you notice, that match was pretty aggressive. Like it looked like every time a blow was thrown, like it was for real. And when as many times as I go back and watch it, I'm like, there's an issue here. And then of course you find out later on that there actually was.
Yeah, and
they fought to a time limit draw.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if it was true that they were really upset that it was a draw. I don't know. I never heard that.
I think they wanted to continue the fight, but the draw, the Rougeaus appreciated that because that put them in the same level that they can go toe to toe, go to the distance with the team like the Bulldogs, considering they're nowhere near that level yet. They were appreciative of the time limit draw outcome. The Bulldogs were, especially Dynamite Kid, were livid about it.
Yeah. Well, they were
because not only are they trying to get back, but you just put me in a time limit draw with a team that's not even in our league at this moment.
Yeah.
So that he was irate about that. You can see it in the ring. And when you go back for a minute, when you talk about all the ribs they did, I forget the guy's name that they were talking about, that they had taken a dump in his bag.
But first he put the sleeping pills in his drink.
They put the pill in his and then they got into his room through the balcony.
Yeah,
and I mean, this was just like, there's one thing to pull a joke on somebody, steal his luggage, but doing something. And I heard this isn't the first time that particular thing has been done to a wrestler.
Yeah.
For a retaliation. That there were several times that I've heard that this has happened.
The one that comes to mind, not to get sidetracked, is Sable, right? It was Sable that day. Was it Sonny? Was it Sable or was it both of them?
It was both of them actually. Yeah. And there's no true story as far as who really did it.
I think it was X-Pac. I think the story I heard was it was X-Pac.
He was one of them. He was one of them. Yeah. Sean's name came up too, but that's not Sean's style. But there was another incident years earlier with that Owen actually. But I mean, this isn't the first time that particular rib has happened. But this guy got so bent out of shape about it, he quit the business.
But they were kind of known as bullies, though.
Yeah,
they were known as bullies. The Bulldog and the both of them, especially Dynamite, who was juiced up. But the other story that I never heard was the whole thing with the mob about that letter. I never heard that story before.
Yeah, this was the first time I heard that, and this is where again I don't know if I want to believe it. We all know Dino Bravo was
connected. Dino was connected, so I don't believe that story.
But as far as Dino being connected, only really came out after he left WWE.
Right, but my whole thing is Dino was connected. So if he would have investigated to find out if that was a legitimate threat or not. All he had to do was make one phone call.
He was what Jacques called the Bulldog's stooge.
He was one of his stooges,
and he wrote a fake name on a piece of paper. I don't believe that because, like you just said, Dino would have tried to figure it out. He was, like you said, he was connected.
He was legitimately his uncle was big time.
I mean, we all saw the Dark Side of the Ring last year on Dino, so. But I never heard that story before.
I don't know.
And this is the reason why Dynamite left.
Yeah, but his wife said it, and then Jacques confirmed it.
Yeah, she said that she was tired of talking about it. She didn't want to bring it up again. And again, like I said earlier, Jacques was laughing when they talked about it, and he almost paused for a second, like, how do I tell this to where I come out on the other end of this?
I don't know. That was kind of interesting, but I don't know. It's confusing.
Some things are missing there.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have Jim Cornette on this episode, so
I
kind of missed the big mouth there at that point. But anyway, so now Dynamite Kid leaves as a result of this farce, whatever you want to call it. Because it was right after Survivor Series '88, that big 10-man tag that the Bulldogs were gone. He had gone to Japan, and at this point, and he had hurt his shoulder. Because now, remember, they show the scene where he's at home. The ligaments are completely off his shoulder. He gets into it with his wife again. He's over there tearing the thing off for whatever reason he was doing it. And at this time, she started feeling suicidal, and I believe she was pregnant again at this time with Amaris.
Yes.
So I like that name. That is a very nice name. So now here's where I started laughing, and because I recorded it and I paused it when she calls nine. Remember, she calls 911 at this point, and he's like, "If you don't leave the house in 15 minutes, I'm going to shoot you."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, you won't."
Right.
And so she gets on the phone with the 911 operator,
Yeah.
and the 911 operator goes, "Wait a minute, he's got a gun, and he said that you can leave, and you're still there." And I'm like,
Right.
"Really? You're saying this to her?
Are
you kidding me?"
I mean, it's Canada. I don't know. I don't know.
I guess
they were in Canada.
Calgary. Oh,
so maybe the Mountie. I don't know. It was the Mountie. Maybe it's the Mountie she got on the line. I don't know, but
maybe it was Jacques.
No, but that was kind of ridiculous to say. Oh yeah, if he's telling you to leave, oh just leave. Like he's pointing.
I had to rewind it and go. You just tell me, and I used the Booker T line. Tell me you just didn't say. But
she was kind of like matter of fact about it. She was like, "Oh yeah." So I'm like, "Oh come on." You know, it wasn't like she even said, "Oh, I at that point I didn't know what to do." She was just like, "Oh, come on." Like I don't know. Maybe I guess it happened. I don't know.
But. Well, she said she wasn't leaving.
Right.
Like she wasn't leaving the kids.
With that, you know what that leads me to believe that wasn't the first time that happened.
No, it's the first. You gotta think about time they reported it on this episode, but I guarantee
because you gotta think about it. If this is the first time he pulled a gun. I mean, I'm not in her shoes, but I would assume that there's a possibility she's gonna die. You would think, but the fact that she was like, "No, I'm not going anywhere."
Well,
with the kids there, but how do you pull a gun out on your wife with the kid? How do you pull out How do you pull a gun out on your wife? Period. Let alone with your
in
children.
Front of your child.
That your children.
Do you want? I've never experienced that, and thank God I haven't, nor will I ever do that to my own wife. I cannot imagine what that child was thinking at that point, how distraught, how messed up psychologically she would be as a result of seeing your mother have a barrel of a shotgun. But look at the balls on her, where either one, she's calling his bluff, or two, she's at that point going, do it.
Right, yeah.
Do you need help pulling the trigger?
Yeah.
She called him out on his. I mean, to me, that tells me that he's done it before and he won't pull the trigger.
No.
So she's pretty much had
Thank
it.
God.
Okay,
Thank God.
Do it. I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just imagine what that child went through. I was like, oh my God.
And then so what is that? She ends up going to Brett's house, right?
Yeah. She didn't even want to do that. She's like, now I got to go to.
Because she had done it before. I guess they had gotten into some fights, and she went over to Brett's house, and.
Yeah. And it was just ridiculous. So this is what 1991. So by now the marriage is over.
Well, they had the story after that about how he came home. That wasn't the same night, right? Where he comes home from a fight with all his friends and he's all bloody and.
Oh, his cheek was hanging off. The skin was.
Yeah. It was because it was New Year's '91.
I don't think it wasn't the same night, but it was around the same time.
Probably a little bit later, and then I guess that's when they decided to go their separate ways, right? Or she just says that.
Yeah, she couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And he had moved back to Britain, to England. He never even came back to see his children, which she's kind of glad that he didn't come back. Right. And later on they show that Bronwyn, I have a hard time if I'm pronouncing it wrong. My apologies. She had gone to see her dad, because by this time he tried to come back in 1996 in Michinoku Pro Wrestling.
That was sad. You saw how frail he looked compared to what he used to look like.
Man, dude, it was a shadow of his former self.
Yeah,
he almost looked like David Arquette.
Yeah, I
mean, it was just bad.
Yeah,
and then he got hurt, and now he's in the wheelchair. And this is tragic. I mean, this guy's just not getting a break cut at any point. And I mean, some of the stuff he caused to himself, but I mean, in other aspects, I mean, it's just you're trying to get back in the ring, and then this happens.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
So, but I mean, he was able to rectify with his daughter.
Well, one of them at least. One, yeah. The other one didn't want to go.
Because I don't ever think he saw her. We got to keep looking down. Amaris. I don't even think he ever met her because she was the youngest, and he never came back to see her.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess not. But she refused because I guess it was after the Benoit death,
Yeah, the document, yeah, in 2007 when that all
that
came out.
that the mother told her the whole story
Yeah, and
about
then
what happened, and then
she put her own thing spin on it and be like, well, if he did that, then I don't want nothing to do with him.
right,
The oldest one decided because she had had her now child,
right.
so she started thinking a little
Well, she also
differently.
remembered him too. She probably remembered the good times when she was a kid too. So
Because he always was holding her hand tight, which means he
yeah,
always wanted to be with her.
yeah,
And remember they talked about how he was up until I think she was a couple of years old, he wouldn't hold her because he was afraid he was going to drop her.
yeah,
So I mean, it was sad. And then watching him because he had a stroke, and watching him wither away, I mean, it was just sad. And then he died on his birthday at the age of 60, December 5th, 2018. And by that point, it was just like it was just nothing. And Dan remembers they interviewed Spivey, and he couldn't talk about it.
yeah.
And I really didn't know that they were really good friends. But I mean, you don't know the camaraderie around from some of these athletes
Hmm.
when in the back, because they don't share it a whole lot. And so you didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know Spivey and Dynamite Kid were good friends. The Spivey wasn't there all that long,
Right,
but I
right.
mean, still,
But still, they had a,
it was this one was just really sad, man.
yeah. It's beginning to be the common theme.
Well, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be in the dark side then if it
Right. Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna end with rainbows and balloons.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be on
Yeah.
this feed
Yeah. But I thought it was a pretty decent episode. That was pretty good.
compared to what we watched the week before, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, I had nightmares about that one.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. I won't watch that one again.
Never.
For sure. All right. All right. So I guess that's our review of this latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring. We'll be coming to you. We're gonna take a little
September.
break. September. They're gonna be
I don't know why they're waiting so long to do the next, what is it, 6 episodes. I thought that was weird. When they said they were going to take a mid-season break, I thought maybe they'd be back in
It's
August.
because they were behind in production. That's what
Oh,
happened.
okay.
Yeah, because I follow the creators and they said that they still haven't even finished editing those episodes.
Oh, okay.
So they were able to get these out, but they still had to work to get with COVID and everything, it kind of messed up everybody's
Yeah, tell me about it.
schedule. But
So we'll be back in September with
for the
it.
reviews, but we have our other show going on, so
We have our weekly Monday episodes and our retro reviews.
so make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.